The views and opinions expressed on the following program are solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of On the Mark. We apologize for that little glitch. We had a small technical issue, now resolved, and so I say good evening to you, good evening to the people of Nevis, the people of St. Kitts, good evening to the people of the wider Caribbean, good evening to our friends and family in places like Anguilla, Montserrat, St. Martin, Saba, Statia. Good evening to those in the U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John's. Good evening to those in the British Virgin Islands, particularly those in Tortola, Virgin Gorda, and Anegada. Good evening to our friends and family in places like Puerto Rico, and of course, Barbados and Trinidad and Jamaica, where we know we have lots of students. Good evening to our wide listenership in Guyana, our Guyanese family. We know that they listen religiously, and we say good evening to all of them. So from the very southern tip of the Caribbean all the way up north, we say good evening to you. Good evening to friends and family in Jamaica and in Grenada. That's what I'm looking for. The Spice Isle. They just celebrated 47 years of independence. Good evening to our listeners there. Good evening to you wherever you are. For those of you who are outside the Caribbean and who are in North America, particularly in the United States, good evening to you. Those of you up in Canada, good evening as well. And of course, those who are across the pond in the United Kingdom who stay up religiously to listen to this show. We know it's late there, some 5 hours difference, but you listen anyway. And we say good evening to you. Through the magic of the internet and the World Wide Web, we are listened to across the globe, and we say good evening to all, and we trust and hope that you are well. We know that some of you in colder climes are now experiencing winter. We saw today, I think it was, that New York had more snowstorms. We are hoping that you stay safe and that you are not affected by the bad weather, nor indeed are you affected by COVID-19, which continues to generate considerable activity and considerable negativity for the people of the world. So far in St. Kitts and Nevis, we have been fortunate. God has been good to us. We have only had 40 cases confirmed. We have had no community spread. We have had no hospitalizations and no deaths. And of the 40 cases, 12 have been on Nevis, including a family of 4. And 28 thus far on St. Kitts. We are hopeful, of course, that the numbers don't grow, but we expect that we will continue to have COVID cases, because as all the experts are saying, COVID is now a part of us. COVID will now be with us. And as we seek to roll out vaccines and we seek to get to the place where vaccination becomes the norm, and hopefully that provides us with some element of protection, we are optimistic that we will be able to restore some sense of normalcy, not only to our day-to-day lives, but also to our economy. And so we thank all of you who have tuned in. We are grateful to God for being here and for having the opportunity yet again to come to you on a Wednesday. This show, On the Mark, I think is a unique and very special platform. It's a platform that was developed many, many years ago. Those who have followed my career will know that I started out as one of the heavyweights on the Heavyweight Show. Many other heavyweights have come before and many since. In fact, some since have gone into the political arena, and I gather that even more others might be coming, and that's a good thing. From that show, we spun this show off, and this was the brainchild of Everett Weber Herbert, and he has allowed me to be here all these years, and so I want to thank him, the management, the ownership of VON Radio, the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse. They have made this platform possible, because no matter how many ideas and no matter how willing I was, we needed a medium, we needed a platform, and so VON Radio has been that platform. I thank VON Radio for the partnership that they've provided all of these years, and that we have been here together. And I thank you, the people of Nevis, the people of St. Kitts, those at home, those in the diaspora. I thank all the non-nationals who, regardless of where they are, tune in and sometimes contribute. We have had calls to this show from all across the Caribbean, and we thank them all. We thank you all for making this show what it is. So thank you very much, and it is indeed an honor now to come and to be here with you on a Wednesday and to spend 2 hours with you each Wednesday discussing matters that we think are of some importance. And oftentimes, as you know, we might well say that this is a topic, and in my mind this is a hot topic, and by the time, of course, we talk about it and the phone lines open, none of you really want to talk about that topic. And so that's why we say this is the people's show, in the sense that really it is you, the audience, that makes the show possible. It is you, the audience, that allow us to be here and to engage with you. And indeed, it is you who will put issues that are important to you on the table. And that is what we seek to do here on the Mark. We say it is straight talk across the narrows. We are the original. We are the show that really affords you a platform to speak your mind and to disagree if you must, to put your issues on the table and to ventilate your issues, whatever they may be. We only ask, as we always do, that you remain respectful and that you respect the standards we have set here for the show. You respect the standards that VON Radio has set, where only the best will do. So if you must call in, please do not engage in any profanity. That will not be accepted. If you must call in, please try not to talk about people in terms of individuals, particularly those who are not in public life. If you must call in, then share your views, share them forcefully if you must. But please, let us, if we must disagree, do not be disagreeable. The idea here is to promote our freedom of speech, to promote dialogue, to promote discussion. We feel that discussion makes us stronger, that the ability to talk to each other, even where we hold opposing views, that makes us much stronger. And so we invite you who have views to share them once we open the lines and once we have a discussion. Now, I want to just start the show by extending my prayers and for asking for the prayers of all of you who are listening, those at home and those abroad, for Mrs. Doris, I think her surname will be Tyson, but we all know her as Nani from Brownhill. Doris is loved by all. Doris is a woman who has given much to the community of Brownhill. She is the mother of some lovely children and the grandmother and great-grandmother of some lovely children. They have contributed tremendously, particularly in areas of sport on the island of Nevis. Her sons and daughters have really contributed in a significant way to our village of Brownhill, to the community of St. John's, and to the broader island of Nevis. Whether it's in nursing, whether it's in education, whether it's in the hospitality sector, whether it's in sport, whatever, their contribution has been significant. She is ailing, and I know that the family would appreciate your prayers for her safe recovery. We are praying that she is comforted, that she is comfortable, and that God, the great healer, will stretch out his hand and touch her and heal her. May we continue to keep all of those who are suffering, all of those who are ill, all of those who might be at this point hospitalized, or even if they're at home, who are unwell, those who might be a bit down. Let us keep them in our prayers. Let us reach out to our neighbor. Let us be our brother's keeper and our sister's helper. Let us continue to do all that we can to make each other more comfortable. And so, to the Walwyn Tyson clan, I extend, of course, our prayers, our well wishes for Nani's full recovery, and we pray and hope that God will bless her and keep her and comfort her, and that you too will be comforted, as we know that she is a matriarch of the family. She is the person that has cared for you, and we know you now care for her. And so we hold up in our prayers, and we trust and hope that all goes well. Remember, however, that at the end of the day, it is God and God's plan alone that matters. That all of us may have our desired outcome to any situation, but ultimately it is God's plan, and a plan that oftentimes we are unable to understand, that matters. And so let us in all things continue to trust in him, and let us in all things continue to pray to him and to thank him for his abundant grace and mercy. And so I start the show on that note to ask for our prayers for the safe recovery, not only of Doris or Nani, but also of all who currently are suffering across the Federation, wherever you are, all who are sick. We ask for your prayers for everyone, and we pray that we may continue to be there for each other. We are a beautiful people, a beautiful society. We can be much kinder and gentler if only we try, and I believe that we can. Sometimes, people get so caught up in whatever it is they think divides them. I commented to a young man today, somebody I met with, somebody who is young but involved in the politics now of the island, and he said to me that he was getting some criticism. The reason, he said, was that he had a childhood friend, a person that he had grown up with and remains today as close as siblings. And he said that because he and this childhood friend were on opposite sides of the political divide here on the island of Nevis, that people were starting to say to him that he ought not to have that relationship with someone on the other side. And he naturally was concerned about that, because he felt that he ought not to sacrifice his friendship with this individual, a genuine friendship forged over many, many years, simply because he and this individual had different sides politically. And I admonished him, as I admonish everyone around me, do not let politics make you make enemies out of anybody. I am proud that I've been in politics now since 2006, and so this year will mark my 15th year in this hustle and bustle, this hurly-burly world of politics. I have not sought to make a single enemy. Let me say it again. I have not sought to make a single enemy. There may be some who have made me their enemy, but I can assure you, I have not made a single person my enemy, because life is just too short. There is life before, during, and indeed we hope after politics. And we must be able to engage with each other in a civil and civilized way. We must be able to talk to each other. And I am not prepared now, nor will I ever be prepared, to sacrifice relationships and friendships on the altar of political expediency. You know why? There are a lot of people who will come around and say, look at me, I'm your biggest supporter. There are others who will not come around, but who pray for you fervently day and night, who support you with all of their heart, and who only wish you well. There are some who come for a reason, and there are some who come for a season. I say all who may come are welcome, but I'm not going to make any enemy out of anyone. If there are those out there who wish to make me their enemy, then that is a matter for them. It will be on their conscience. If they seek to elevate me to such a point that they hate me, then I think it is a wasted emotion, because it has no effect whatsoever on me. None. And so I encourage our people to disagree if they must, support different sides if they must, but don't sacrifice relationships over politics. It is not worth it. It is not worth it. And a lot of times the politicians who are encouraging you to hate each other, look around the corner, they're behind their clinking glass and enjoying themselves. I know, I see them. And so I admonish all of us to hold up each other, to have relationships. When election day come, you vote for who you want to vote for. That is your right. Never vex with a soul yet. I would love everybody to vote for CCM, but I know that is not going to happen. But do not be upset with people for exercising the same right that you hold sacred, the same right that you hold sacrosanct, the same right that you feel you should exercise. Don't be vexed with your fellow man for exercising the same right that you have. What we should do as politicians is to appeal to the electorate with our ideas, with the power of our personality and our ideas, and we say, look at our lives, look at what we have done, look at our record, and give us an opportunity because we feel we can lead. That to me is what ought to be important. And so sometimes in the politics I look around and I see those who are engaged in a puerile game. They're setting their little traps and they're having their little meetings that they somewhere in their minds think are secret. What meeting could be secret in St. Kitts and Nevis, really? Somebody's going to say something. We all have PhDs here in talk. Somebody will talk. So fret not yourself. I see some people now for a little coin, a little 30 pieces of silver, are prepared to say and do and jump and say, yes, master, no, master. Yes, sir, no, sir, 10 bags full, sir. It's all vanity at the end of the day. Chaff that the wind bloweth away. I say to people, listen, let us be real with each other. If you're not supportive, that is fine. That is your right. I will continue to try to get your support. But for those who feel that they're playing some game and that they're so bright that others don't recognize the game that they're playing, I say, please cease and desist. I told some caller some months ago that I was very hard to fool. And I maintain that. I go along sometimes and I said, yes, I was born at night, but not necessarily last night. I did not, as far as I can recall, go to school in August. I went to school during regular hours, not during vacation. So a lot of times people feel that they're fooling you. They sit with you, they eat with you, they drink with you, and all along they're plotting against you. I say, woe be unto them who think they're so bright and so talented and so capable and so smart. Old people have a saying, you know what they say? Too smart, dead a one smart do. It's for you to figure out what that means. Too smart, dead a one smart do. Sometimes when you listen to our older people, there's wisdom in what they have to say. And so my philosophy, ladies and gentlemen, is simple. Don't vex with nobody because of politics. And those of you who are in politics or around politics, don't think you're too smart. Because sometimes too smart, dead a one smart do. And all the tricks and all the ploys and all the plots in the fullness of time will be revealed. Some are already being revealed and more will be revealed. Because politics really shouldn't be about the plotting and the scheming. I saw a message that someone sent to someone recently, and they said that they will seek to destroy me at all cost. And they said, destroy me? How could you destroy what you did not build? Because I'm where I am today through the grace of God. Not through man, but through the grace of God. God is who lifts up and God takes down. God appoints rulers and God disappoints rulers. A lot of times we get so caught up, we feel that, oh, I'm here. My name is Mark Brantley, I'm the Premier of Nevis, and I have all the pomp and circumstance in the world. God appoints, not man. And God ultimately disappoints, not man. And for a lot of us, we rush to every church in the community. Every Sunday, we go to church 7 days a week. But in our heart, we are plotting and scheming against others. There's no need for that. No need for that. Because we can fool man, but we can never fool God. And no amount of rushing to church and clapping hands, and when they say, give the sign of peace, you walk the whole church and shake everybody's hand, even in these COVID times. No amount of doing that is going to fool God if your heart is unclean and you are impure in spirit. Blessed are the pure in heart. Is that what the Bible says? Blessed are those who are pure in heart. That is important. Because if your heart is impure, the attendance in church will not matter. I am not a preacher, but even I know that. And so what is important is that we live with each other. We will not always agree. But that does not mean that we should spend every waking moment obsessing over how we can destroy our brother, how we can destroy our sister. I am proud to say that as a politician for these years, as someone who has been privileged to now have been in government at the local level here in Nevis and at the federal level, as someone who has emerged with the confidence of the people of Nevis and the grace of God as the Premier of Nevis, I have never used or sought to use power to destroy anyone. Because what does it profit you to gain the world and lose your soul? What? So I am appealing tonight in a very general way. As time goes on, I will get more specific, but in a very general way, to those cowboys and clowns who feel they're smart and feel they're bright. Tell them I'm very hard to fool, and I listen with my mouth, my eyes, and my ears. You hear that? I listen with my eyes, my mouth, and my ears. I listen with all. And I have a lot of people who are talking. So, do not bother feel like the scheming and the plotting is not known. It is very well known. And ultimately, the question will be, where will it get you? Where will it get you? Because some, I don't know what more they want. Some, I don't know what it is they're seeking to achieve. But God and God alone appoints, and God and God alone disappoints. And it will be useful for us to remember that. And if we remember that, what we will have to do whilst we're on this stage called life is to just do the best that we can. And when we're done, we clear the stage for who is to come. I say it all the time. Sometimes I don't think people grasp the full metal of what I'm seeking to convey. That when you're on the stage, and in this case, I am on the political stage, you contribute as much as you can. But always know that you must make way for he or she who is to come. And that he or she who comes after tends always to be mightier. There's nothing wrong with that. That is the nature of life itself. You think an old man like me now at 52 could say I'm competing with a young man of 25 or 30? No. So we must understand life. And once we understand life, a lot of the vanity that we fight for, the need to always be in the spotlight. I don't want to leave the stage because the stage is mine and mine alone. Remember, somebody was on the stage before you. Somebody will be on the stage after you. And somebody will be on the stage after that somebody. Because as life continues and progresses, there is only one destination that all of us has to get to. One appointment that all of us have to keep, and that is death. You hear me? The only thing that awaits us with all the pomp and circumstance, the plotting and scheming, the trying to destroy and undermine each other, is 6 foot 6 inches up at Britannic, if you're lucky. Or maybe at Springfield Cemetery on St. Christopher. So at the end of the day, if we recognize that all of this is vanity, and that all that we can do is the best that we can and then prepare to exit the stage so that others can be allowed to shine. Not be on the stage, and even while you're on the stage, that reminds me of the dog and the bone. There is value in these stories, you know. Because sometimes the dog has his bone in his mouth. And rather than enjoying that juicy, succulent bone, spending some time with that bone and enjoying that bone, the dog is so concerned about what another dog may have that he ends up drop and lose his bone while fighting over what another dog has. There is room, my brothers and sisters, in this world for all of us. There's room. I studied and was trained as a lawyer. And at one point in my life, I think I was a good lawyer. And I would go into any court anywhere and stand with a plum and argue my case. God bless me that I had good success in the courts. But there are fellas out there, and you give them a plan and you tell them, run these blocks, build this house, build this wall, make sure it's straight. And without murmur, they will do it and get it done. I couldn't do that. Equally, I am sure, they would be lost if I said to them, go to the Court of Appeal and argue this matter before the Justices of Appeal. They would not know where to start. I say that simply to say that my field was law, my area of expertise was law, and so I was comfortable in the courthouse. Somebody else, their field is construction. They're comfortable running blocks, they're comfortable engaging in plumbing, electrical, they're comfortable erecting a building. That is their forte. I would not know where to start doing what they do. They would not know where to start doing what I do. But there's a place in the world for all of us. Now, how would it look at me, and I'm a lawyer, and I looking out there, see the man running blocks, and I vex with he. He running them too good. He's known as the best builder in Nevis, and that vexed me. Now, why should it vex me? I should be concerned with being the best lawyer that I could be, because that is my field and that is his. And similarly, if you're in politics, and all of you are in politics, then try to be the best that you can be, and the best that you can be is to see how good you can serve the people of this country. Where I find time to be plotting and scheming against people when we have COVID-19, we have such a travesty and a tragedy on our hands. A health crisis has become now this colossal economic crisis. People are out of work. Every day people are calling and asking, what does the government have that we can do? We need a job, we need something to do. Where does anyone, and where would I, as the Premier of Nevis, find time when confronted with this calamity, confronted with this tragedy that no leader anywhere at any time has ever had to confront? A global pandemic, the first in our lifetime. Where would I find time to spend my time scheming and plotting against people? Where? If I am engaged in that, it means that my priorities are not straight. Worse, when the people I'm plotting and scheming against, I can't do them a thing. I can't do them a thing. Because I did not contribute to building them. God did that. God's grace did that. So you're going to fight against God? So it makes no sense. And that's why I appeal to our people. Let us, when we engage, think about what we're doing and why we're doing it. A lot of you jumping into the political arena. What is the reason? Because you're vexed with somebody? You have a score that you want to settle? Or because you have genuine ideas that you would like to share, and you have a genuine passion for people, that you would want to help people? What is the reason that motivates you? These are very important questions. Because a lot of times some of them just jump up, hip hip hooray, and you ask why. And when you peel it away, it's because they're vexed about something, you know. And they want to get into office for vengeance, to take revenge on somebody because they vexed they didn't get something or something didn't work out the way they wanted it to. And you just have to look at them. I see some of them who say that they're getting involved in politics, some who say they're around the politics, some who have announced themselves and some whom the parties have announced. And I look at their contribution into the public debate. You know what marvels me, what amazes me, what I marvel at, is that rarely do you find them expressing a single idea, a single thought that would benefit the people of Nevis. Every morning you get up, you say, Mark Brantley this, the premier that, oh he ugly, oh he thief, oh he believe in this, oh he arrogant, oh this, oh me not like him, oh that. And I ask myself all the time, how does that help the people of Nevis? How does that help? So let us say that the Premier Mark Brantley, he ugly, he thief, he arrogant, he feely this, he feely that. Let us assume that all of that is true. How does any of that, or you pointing out any of that, help the people of Nevis? And that is the question. So sometimes when you hear people and you recognize what it is they're saying and what it is they're engaged in, you immediately understand that they are but empty barrels. Empty barrels. Sounding brass and cymbal, making a lot of noise, but at the end of the day, no substance. Because they come not with an iota of an idea to assist the people that they say they wish to serve. What they come with is a desire to be given a position to enrich themselves, as we've seen so much of in the past, and to seek for self-aggrandizement where they say now, oh, I am now in charge, I'm this, I'm that, I have this title, I'm the Prime Minister, I'm the Premier. Not to seek to serve, to help people, to humble yourself and to advance ideas that will be beneficial to the community, not to yourself. They will say a lot of things about me. And in this life we cannot control what people say about us. We can only control what we do and what we say about others. They will say a lot of things about me, but one thing they will never be able to say, that I sought to use office or politics to enrich myself. In fact, I will say, dear friends, I'm much poorer since I've entered politics. They will never be able to say that of me. And I'm grateful to God that the administration that I lead, I have said to them, as Vance Amrich said to us when he led us, that is not something that are going to get ourselves in. At all times we must be able to say before God and man, our hands are clean. And I'm grateful that thus far in 15 years, I can say before God and man, my hands are clean. Not many people can say that. I can say it, I'm proud. And my colleagues, and you must look at it with all the chatter that you hear out there. Who's corrupt and who's engaged in this and who's engaged in that. Do you realize that the CCM administration has never had those kinds of allegations made against it or any member in any credible way? Think about it. Think about it. Vance Amrich would have been in office and in political life over 30 years. Ask yourself if you've ever heard that of him. I have been there now for 15 years. Ask yourself, have you ever heard that of me? And then look at others who have come and overnight have catapulted themselves from rags to riches. Look at others who have come, who they and their family are feeding hungrily at the trough. Look at them, examine them, and you will see the difference in terms of why people come. And so I am encouraging people to come. But when you come, I'm also encouraging you to come with the ideas and with the love of people that will advance our island and our country. Not come with bad mind and want to kill people and want to devour and want to destroy, that will not, at the end of the day, help you nor anybody else. A lot of people right now out there listening to me and they got ulcers. You know why they got ulcers? Bad mind and wickedness in the heart for others. Ulcers eating them, it's like a cancer, you know. It's like a cancer. There is nothing more beautiful than going to bed at night knowing that you do not have anybody in your heart. You have no ought against anyone. That you are at peace with yourself and with your fellow man. There is no money can buy that. And that is where we should all seek to get to. If you find yourself waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning thinking about the sheriff and what I could do to him and who I could call tomorrow, who close to him I could buy out, who I could get to turn on him, how much fake profile I could get to attack him on Facebook, who are this? Something is wrong with you. You hear me? Something is wrong with you. And you have aught in your heart which is going to eat you alive. It's like a cancer. Get rid of it. Focus not on doing ill to your fellow man. Focus on the good you can do. Because you can't, at 3 o'clock in the morning, wake up plotting and scheming and seeing whose downfall you can bring about. And then 8 o'clock you go on to prayer service and think that God don't know what you were doing at 3. Because a lot of us are trying to fool God. You can't fool God. Sometimes it don't even make sense, you bother. Because you cannot fool God. So, let us, if we are to engage in public life, do so for the right reasons. And we focus on our ideas and our service to mankind because that is what has brought us. And if you don't have that in you, instead you're motivated by whatever you didn't get done, who you vex with and who you want to kill and who you want to undermine, and I need power because I want to show so and so this and put them in their place. That is the wrong approach. And you're in it for the wrong reasons. And you may succeed for a while. But at the end of the day, people will not respect you. See, people talk about Sir Simeon Daniel, a national hero. A man who I knew well. A man who mentored me. And to whom I'm so grateful for all that he taught me. I sat at his feet for many years. A great man. You know why? Because he was imbued with this sense of humility and service which was unprecedented. We have never seen anyone before nor since like Sim Daniel. Imbued with that common touch. A man who loved people, who cared not about the self-aggrandizement, who cared not about the title, but who loved people, who was comfortable among the commoner as he was among the king. And that, I believe, ought to be the model for all of us. To be in this thing for the benefit of others, not for the advancement of ourselves. Now I'll say one last thing before I open the lines. I was sent some video clips that have been circulating of some members of the police force seeking to subdue a young man. I know both the members of the force and I know this young man. And I would want to say tonight that the images were very disturbing and unsettling. I have had a conversation with the Commissioner of Police, our own Hilroy Brandy, and he has indicated quite properly that what was done was inconsistent with proper police procedures and that the necessary investigations will occur. I would encourage the members of the public to allow the police, which is a disciplined force, to conduct its internal investigation and to come to a conclusion as to what would have happened. I would warn the public that oftentimes we see a 10-second clip of an incident that might have lasted a half an hour. Oftentimes our impression is formed by that 10-second clip. That we have no context of what happened before, we have no context of what happened after, we only have that 10-second clip. and that sometimes videos or words, a sentence here or a sentence there, can be used sometimes to inflame our passions. Whilst I do not seek to minimize what we all would have seen, I like to give the opportunity for time and reflection and investigation to reveal to us the true content of any situation. And so I would wish to convey to the young man certainly our concern, our empathy for what the videos appeared to show. Convey to the police our concern that we do not engage in high-handed and unlawful behavior, but also to say that we must await the proper investigation and report that we hope will come from the police authorities. Because those who know me know that I am a very staunch supporter of our police, and that I have never been quick to condemn them as others have been, for the simple reason that what they do is often thankless. When I look at some of the comments and the odium and contempt that some so readily heap on our police, and I said, you know, the irony of ironies is that we don't hear these same people at all willing to issue a word of commendation when the police do well. We never hear a word of commendation that crime is down, or that the police are in the communities more than ever, that community policing is at its best that it has been. We don't hear when police go to the schools and talk to our young children about drugs, about proper behavior, about moral code and conduct. We don't ever celebrate the policemen and women in the community who are standard bearers and who we can look to. I think about people like former Commissioner Foy there in Brownhill. I mean, a man who by any standard people can look up to. And he's not alone. Nelson Stapleton, who by the way I gather is celebrating a birthday today. Happy birthday, Mr. Stapleton, if you're listening. Former, I believe, Assistant Commissioner Liebert, Joseph Liebert. I could go on and on in calling names, but people who are outstanding members of our community. Mr. Morgan, in Hanley's Road. Outstanding members of our community. How often do you hear us lift up their names and commend them? But the instant that something goes wrong, we descend like a swarm of bees to devour negativity, and we are quick to attack. And I always say, what a beautiful society we would be if the alacrity with which we attacked was matched by a similar alacrity to celebrate, to commend, to lift up. There will be times, of course, when we must roundly condemn behavior. And when one looks at the content of those short videos, one must condemn what one saw. But I'm asking, in a wider context, for us also to be willing to uplift, to celebrate, and to commend. That's important, because people want also to feel appreciated. And the police in Nevis do a wonderful job. And we ought not to lose sight of that, even as we condemn behavior that is unacceptable. And so that will be my 2 cents on that. Ladies and gentlemen, it is on the mark. It is 45 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. That means it is 45 minutes past the hour of 8 o'clock, which means it's 9 o'clock, which means that my soliloquy tonight would have lasted 45 minutes. There's much more that I can talk about, but I hope that the message that I have brought is one that people will understand and gravitate towards. I gather tonight that the students at the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College, those from the sixth form that they're being celebrated tonight, I would want to commend them. I couldn't attend because I have to be here, and this is for me a very important date that I seek to keep every week. So the Honorable Troy Liburd is attending in my stead. I thank him for all that he's doing. I also want to commend Troy Liburd because he has been spearheading the efforts there for the TVET education, our transformation into vocational training here on the island of Nevis. And our building at the Gingerland Secondary School is going well, and I want to commend him. And while I'm in commending mood, let me also commend Spencer Brand, the brand new representative in Charlestown, who said to you, give him a chance and he will earn the rest. And he has really stepped up in a significant way. He and his team have been out with what he calls the road beast, significant investment by my government in a milling machine. And so if you see some work being done there from Hosfords down to Rams or thereabouts, it is really us testing the machine while the exports are here, training our local exports so that at the end of the day we can put that milling machine, a significant investment. I just want you to understand, government that is thinking long-term, planning to make that kind of investment which will allow us to do road works faster and cheaper all across the island. And so, Minister Brand, thank you. Congratulations on all that you're doing. I won't go through minister by minister because I'll take up the rest of the show to say that. But I just wanted to commend those two because of the excellent effort that they have made and continue to make on behalf of the people of Nevis. That's what we are about, service. Service to others, not to ourselves. Putting our people first and remembering in everything we do that people matter most. Let's go to the phones now and see if anybody wants to talk to us. 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Good evening, you are on the mark. Hello? Hello?
Good evening, Michelle.
Good evening, my dear. How are you tonight?
Well, you know, giving God thanks.
Yes.
Good opening remarks for tonight from you. Psalm 103, verse 1 and 2. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits. Good night, culture. Me Sheriff, leave everything to God.
Yes.
He would work out that for all of us. You have a good evening. Sympathies going out to all who lose their loved ones. And good night.
Thank you very much for that, and thank you as always for your scripture. This caller is a caller whom I admire greatly because many years ago she took it upon herself to start to do a scripture, and each night she chooses a scripture. I have no conversation with her. I didn't ask her to start it, and I have no conversation with her up to this day about what scripture she will read. Whatever falls on her heart, she comes with it, and we appreciate it. Caller, I appreciate you very much, and I wish that you will continue for many, many more years to give us that scripture. There was another caller who used to give us a thought of the day. We don't hear from that caller as much anymore, but that too was an initiative from that caller. I never had any conversations with her or asked her to do so. So we appreciate those who contribute and those who are regular contributors who lift up the show, they lift up the island and the country, they lift up others who are looking forward each week to hear that thought of that scripture, and we thank them for that contribution. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Okay, we've lost that caller. Let's try someone else. Good evening, you're on the mark. Okay, callers 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. 10 minutes to the hour of 9 o'clock. We have another hour and 10 minutes to take your calls and, of course, to engage with you. If you want to get in, this is a good time to do so. Oftentimes, people complain and say that they called all night and couldn't get in. And I said, well, when the lines are open, try your best to get in so that you can have your views expressed and you can get a sense of what it is happening, and you can certainly be on the air and share your views with us and have your views examined if necessary, have them shared with the world, because this is a global platform. This is On the Mark. If you just tuned in, you're listening to the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse, VON Radio, the voice of Nevis. www.vonradio.com or 860 on your AM dial. That is where we are each Wednesday for 2 glorious hours of primetime talk radio from 8 to 10. And we're taking your calls. Good evening, you are On the Mark.
Hello?
Yes, brother, good evening to you.
Good evening to you again too.
Yes.
How you do?
I am well, man. Good to hear you.
I'd like to hear that.
Yes.
I want to send out condolences to the family of Mr. Weber Hobart,
Yes.
you know, on the passing of his mother. Someday we are all going there, you know, Brother Mark? Brother Mark?
Yes.
Yeah, you ever dead?
Well, not that I know of.
Okay.
Mm.
Well, I faced death mostly 3 times, but I tell it, go for me, I ain't ready for that yet.
You ready?
No, man.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't come back around me.
You can't come back or you can't come back yet?
Eh? Hello?
You can't come back or you can't come back yet?
Yet, no, yet anything, you can't come back.
Okay, I hear you.
I ain't playing with you, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Cause me done box off he long time and drown him.
Mm.
Anyway, I have a message for all Nevisians, whether you live in Nevis or not. I would like the people of Nevis to look at an elephant and the way an elephant operates. But Mark, if you ill-treat an elephant, it could be 15, 17, 20 years after, and that elephant see you.
Mm.
It remember what you did to it. And you better stay far from it. Because if you go close, he gonna knock you down with the trunk and then just put 1 foot on you. Saying that to say this. When the former administration in Nevis before CCM was in office, a lot of things was needed in Nevis. And the administration down here was the Labour administration. And they ignored Nevis. When we get some vehicle from Canada, we get 2 garbage trucks from Canada, and they send up the old one from down here to Nevis. You know what I mean to say? Nevis ain't good enough to get in your truck.
Mm.
Well, CCM fight down that, and they tell the people that CCM will do a better job. And the people voted for CCM and put CCM in there. And the people who used to send up the old vehicle from down here, they never liked that. Now, there was a time when the island administration, which is CCM, they were depending on the guarantee from down here of the check to take care of the bills in Nevis and pay the people. And the administration down here refused to guarantee the check. Bounce the check. And you know what that means? I'm going to starve you to death in a different way. And starving somebody to death when you have the food there in front of the people's eyes and you let the people die, that is considered murder.
Mm-hmm.
So when they hold back the check from guaranteeing in it, that is what they were doing to the people of Nevis. I'm going to kill you with starvation. So people, do not forget what they were doing to you. Mind, don't fight them down. We could say, anyway, I forgive you, but you gotta remember, don't forget it. You forgive, but don't forget.
It's like the elephant.
Yeah, right then. That's like the elephant. 20 years after, elephant never forget. You remember how you do it. So people, please operate like the elephant. CCM is a good government, a boss government. Look at the people in the ministry in the INE. These are people who showing their concern and their love for the island of Nevis. Showing how they care for the people. They're looking out for the people. Do not follow anybody who trying to break up Nevis and telling all you nonsense. Because they're only saying that like a cat cooping a mice, he wiggling his tail slowly and giving the mice the impression that they are watching it. So when the mice come in, the cat just grapple it. And the mice gonna say, Lord, almost you thought you were giving me the impression that you're a nice man. And look what you're doing to me now. That is what those people who have no love for Nevis, they're trying to do to you. Watch them. I'll come back with your thing for you, Brother Mark.
All right, brother. Well, thanks a lot for that. And you're correct that there are others who have from time to time tried to kill little Nevis. But guess what? Nevis and Nivisions are still standing. And for all those who are coming or plan to come to again attack, Nevis and Nivisions will always be standing. So I tell them they might as well don't bother. It's a wasted effort. A lot of people have wasted their effort here trying to come at Nevis, and where are they today? History is a very valuable teacher if only we're prepared to learn. But some of us will become so pompous and filled with power that we feel that we can somehow subjugate the people of Nevis. It can't happen. It can't happen. It didn't happen under Sim Daniel. It didn't happen under Vance Amory. It did not happen under Joseph Perry. And it will not happen under Mark Brantley. Understand that. Because we are Nivision. We may have had differences. Sim and Perry were NRP and Vance and I are CCM. But we are Nivisions. It can't happen. Let me say it again. It can't happen. So all of those who are harboring those thoughts, they don't even bother. Nevis is a place where if you don't know, you will learn. And some have learned to their detriment. If you don't know, ask somebody. Ask somebody. Let us go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good night, sir.
Good evening to you, you're on the air.
How are you, Mr. Brantley?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing just fine.
Okay.
I'm just listening to your program, and it's not like I'm gonna be somebody gonna call back when somebody make a point, but you know, just now I listened to someone calling on the program, Mr. Brantley, and I know you is such a wise guy. When he say you're gonna forgive but not forget. Come on, we deal with the Bible. Come on, we got to forgive and forget. Forget about the old days. And this is what I'm saying now to the young people. They are not getting themselves involved into politics. They need to get themselves involved into politics. No, where are they going and where they coming from?
I'm listening.
I don't know if I'm saying anything wrong, but I'm saying this. As an elder, please teach your youth them right, because this is why we get in these kind of commercial with the youth them. Because the family sector, you know what I mean, is like they're not bringing up the youth. I mean, the right, we're not teaching them what right from wrong. Because as an elder, when you're gonna say you're gonna forgive but not forget, I don't like that.
Okay. All right, caller, thank you very much for your point of view. I believe, however, what the caller was saying is that you forgive because that's what God has asked us to do. It doesn't mean that you forget what somebody did to you. And it doesn't mean that you will put yourself in that situation again. So, for example, if you trusted someone with something that was confidential and that person were to betray your trust, yes, you forgive them, but it doesn't mean that you will trust them again to put confidential information in their hands, bearing in mind what they would have done. I don't know that those two things are necessarily inconsistent. Forgiveness means that you let go of it. You don't have people up in your heart. You're not one of those who wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning trying to plot and scheme. Those people, I think, need Jesus. But it doesn't mean that you forget. I have forgiven anybody who has wronged me. But there are some that I will not forget. I remember. And I tell myself, well, I will no longer put myself in that situation. You know, people that you would have helped and helped and helped and helped, and they turn their back on you, they go and they betray you for 30 pieces of silver. You forgive them. And you wish them all the best, but it doesn't mean that you're going to put yourself in that situation again. So these are some of the things, caller. So I don't know that there's anything inconsistent or wrong with what the caller has said, but we respect the different points of view. It is 9 o'clock and we're taking your calls. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello.
Hey, good evening, my premier.
Good evening to you.
How you doing, man?
I am not too bad at all. How are you?
Hey, this is Vaughn, man.
Hey, what's up? What's up, Addy? How you doing, man?
Hey, cool, man. Hey, kind words to my aunt tonight where you were talking, man.
Yeah, we're hearing you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I will tell you, thanks for them kind words you talk for my aunt tonight, which is Nani.
Yeah, man. Well, you know she's everybody mother in Brownhill, you know?
Yeah, well, it's my auntie, so I love it, man. So keep up the good work, man.
Thanks a lot, brother.
And you went and you saw back tonight for them. I like that one.
You got to do it sometimes and remind them, you know? All
Yeah,
right.
man, you gotta talk your mind, man. Let them know who they are. Let them see the one, you know? Yeah, guys, speak your mind.
All right, my brother. Well, you stay safe, okay? Everything is all right down in the
Stay
VI?
strong, man. You just stay strong, man. Everything gonna be in your favor. Everything gonna be good for you. You know what I'm saying? You're doing a good job up there. And keep up the good work.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, man. I just want to hear about my family up there. The Walwin them, my brother, yeah, man. Everybody up there, man. Tell them stay strong, man. And give you that support all the way. Okay?
Thank you, brother. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, one love, man. And I take care, man. And just hold your head up high.
All right, Daddy. Thanks for the call, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Everything all right in the VI?
Blessing. Yeah, man. Be good, man.
Okay.
I just make 54 Sunday gone.
Happy belated.
Yeah, man. And you 2 years younger than me.
I'm trying to catch you. All right, my
Well, I
brother.
mean, if you get me, but try your best.
All right. Take good care.
Yeah, man. Take care,
Okay,
man.
God bless.
Nice.
All right, good. And they say this is what I talk about, the power of the show, the power of the internet. You know, here's a call from the Virgin Islands. Good to hear you, Vaughn, and calling in to wish his aunt, you know, all the best. And so we certainly know that people all around are hearing and people all around are praying for Doris. Let's go back to the phones. We have somebody. No, the numbers to call are 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. So while we wait for the phones to ring, let us talk about a few other things. The movie business has come to Nevis, and we are engaged. Well, let's go back to the phones and take the call so we don't keep this caller waiting. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Yes, sir. Greetings, brother Mark. Rascalonji.
Yes, brother, how are you?
How you doing, man? Been a long time.
Been a very long time, but good to hear you.
Yes. No, a lot of things taking place globally. We see what happened in the United States on the 6th of January when the white supremacists attacked the Capitol.
Yes.
And what I'm saying to our people, basically, we are see for ourselves. And the question that we got to pose to ourselves is that we as African people and what is happening with the pandemic now in the world, we have to make a choice. Whether we're going to be working now in African people's interest or we're going to be supporting white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the question before us now here in 2021. So I'm saying to our people, instead of attacking each other and fighting on each other, as Bob Marley said, all they want us to do is keep fussing and fighting. We as a people got to work out something how we going to, you know what I mean, communicate with one another, how we can help each other in order to survive on the planet. That is how I see what is happening in this dispensation. So instead of we attacking each other politically, I'm calling for political ceasefire. Because we have to survive in this 21st century. And as Brother Du Bois said, the problem of the 21st century will be the problem of the color line. Our people got to get serious. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
These are serious times. And based on this pandemic, we have to survive on this planet with other people, you know, so we got to work with each other and, you know, come together as a people. That is my position. How you see that?
Well, I think that what you're saying is most reasonable. The question is, how do we achieve it?
We achieve it by, okay, we want to achieve a goal which is unity, and we start from a position of want to achieve unity, we trash out the differences and end up at unity. That's how we resolve contradiction. That is my remedy.
But that requires, of course, and that we engage in dialogue, yeah? That
Exactly.
people talk to each other.
Yes.
And that I think is always critical. And that, in a simple way, that is what we're seeking to do even on this show. To allow an opportunity for people to talk. Because if we don't allow that forum, that opportunity, we end up with people having an echo chamber where they only talk to themselves and only talk to people who are similarly minded to them. And I think that is what you had evidence with the attack on the Capitol. People were only talking to those who were similarly minded, not prepared to open their ears and minds to others who might have a divergent
what I'm saying,
view.
Brother Matt, is that is the European culture which they impose on us.
Mhm.
That's why we got all the problems that we have. You see? Because what I'm saying, okay, let's take Singit and Nevis. The problem of secession is nothing. You go back to 1887 when the white people was running both Singit and Nevis. The white people in Nevis wanted secession from those in Singit. And we carry it on up to today. So we have to find a new paradigm. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. All right. Well, I hear you clearly, brother. Thanks for the call. Thanks for the contribution, as always.
Okay, blessed love.
Okay. Good.
Aye.
It is 7 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. We're taking your calls. 869-469-1616. 869-469-1700. And we go straight back to the phones. Good evening. You're on the mark. Hello, caller. Okay, caller, you'll have to try again, please, by dialing any of those two numbers. While we wait for the calls, let me go back to our movie business, because the two films are going to be shot here in Nevis. We're very happy to see the start of what we hope will be a film industry developing here. The government has been working feverishly and building out a framework for that to happen. We are very grateful to all of those who worked hard to make this possible. And we are told that just last night some of the actors would have arrived on a private jet into St. Kitts. And so there's a certain optimism and enthusiasm which is growing here on the island of Nevis. They put out a casting call. They're saying that they would want some locals, Kittitians and Nevisians involved in roles in the movie, some speaking roles, some what they call extras. But all are paid roles, and so we continue to encourage individuals who are looking for something to do. We recognize that people are unemployed, and therefore any income at this point is better than no income, that they make themselves available and that they go and try out to be in these movies. We are hopeful that this is a start and that we'll in fact be able to get even more films coming, and that other filmmakers will be interested in coming to Nevis, which remains undiscovered in many respects and has so much to offer. We want to assure the public that when in our negotiations with these filmmakers, we insisted that they and the stars and everybody else would have to go through the regular COVID protocols. So they have been quarantined for 14 days, have to come in with their negative test, they have to test after 7 days, etc., test on day 14, and that many of them have been in villas with security, isolated for those 14 days. Others are at hotels. The main beneficiary seems to be the Hamilton Hotel, which has a large number of persons there. There's a hotel there at the bottom of Cotton Ground, and they have done quite well. We expect that they will have many room nights until May from this venture. Four Seasons has done well. A lot of them are staying there as well. And so we are seeing that that is generating some activity. And that is what we need now more than ever, economic activity. And so we are very grateful for that, and we encourage our people to take advantage of these opportunities. Let us take this call at 10 minutes past the hour. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good night.
Good night, you're on the air.
Yeah, good night to the Honorable Mark Brantley.
Good evening, my brother.
Night. Mark, yeah, I'm here listening to your opening statement, and you were so passionate with it and everything, and that is so good to send to the people of this federation. I hear you talk about pull down and plat. You understand? But I don't think you ain't trying to pull down and plat against nobody. Who is trying to pull down and plat? Is the enemy out there trying to pull down and plat with different radio talk show, trying to bring down the country with all the good you are trying especially in this part of going on in the world right now. Going on different radio stations saying all kind of things up to today.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? About you, the Prime Minister, and the other ministers, them, they should not be there because this corrupt Mr. Lindsey Grant and General Powell should not be there. But a freaking caller always calling in.
But you know what I don't understand, caller? Just hold on a minute for me. You know, General and Lindsey Grant are people whom I know well. They're my colleagues. And what I don't understand is that people say whatever they want to say.
Yeah.
But both of them put their name on a ballot paper. And the people of St. Kitts went out and voted.
Went out for them.
And they voted for them.
Yes.
So I don't understand how people think, because if you have put your name on a ballot paper,
yes,
and the electorate in a free and fair elections, everybody who was here observing said the elections were free and fair, voted for you, what then is the complaint after that? Because all the things they would have said about you would have been tested in the election. Look at me.
Election.
Look at me.
Yeah.
They go up and down, cuss me, say I get in toupee, I this, I that, I the other. As if I was the one who framed the Constitution and I was the first to get toupee. All kind of people get toupee long before me. But I just a come. Right?
Yeah, but they never seen that. They never seen that.
But the point I'm making is, with all that they up and down, I said the people voted for me. I won by the largest margin I have ever won by in my political career.
But you see, Mark, we got to counteract them still, because people out there listening to them, and they feel like they're the most educated people in the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. And they could come on and twist and turn people's mind. People know went on before. You understand? People know that Mr. Grant and General Powell, they was in the court with whatever, nothing come against them. They put their name on the ballot, and the people went to vote convincingly for them. So I don't know the problem. You understand? I'm talking about the country, this and the country that, and every little thing that grip, and the thing they try to pull down the country, and try to snare the country, and rip the country apart, and rip the people apart. You understand? When other country out there suffering, Mark, from how to handle this COVID-19. Look at little loss. Look at little loss. About the power of the country. And praise you all, the government, who trying the endeavor best. You don't hear the opposition talking much now. You hear them attack. This coming and talking and saying all kind of negative thing every day on the radio. Like they want something to really happen. They want an outbreak with the COVID or something. But Brother Mark, let me tell you something now. Continue to say what you got to say. You speak your word and frankly. We know that you are a human being. You all will got differences, and you all work out the strategy towards in cabinet and whatsoever. Everybody ain't gonna come with the same agreement because we are a human being. But brother, I believe this is the best way for the country to go right now, and no one I think could really try to pull down and bring down this unity government unless the people ignorantly want to do what go elsewhere. But I'm happy about a wonderful night. God bless.
Thank you very much. Okay, well, thank you very much for that. And you make a very valid point that nobody can pull on unity. Let me add, except unity. Nobody can pull on unity except unity. So all of those who say they're unity but plotting and scheming against unity, tell them stop. Because nobody could pull on unity except unity. I said the same thing about CCM. The last convention, I reminded CCMers that we are strong if we're united. The only thing that can destroy CCM is CCM. You think we're afraid and happy? We're not afraid and happy. Not a soul of study and happy now. CCM. And that is why people who are coming at us are seeking to peel off people. They come in and say, oh, well, let me see if I could get some of those who can be persuaded for. Now, some of them not even getting 30 pieces of silver. I hear some get 10. Some get 5. Because they're being paid according to their relevance. That is what is happening. So, we must not just be unity in name. We must be unity in substance. We must come together, and I'm not talking about unity now, meaning PAM, CCM, and PLP. I'm talking about unity as a nation, unity as a people. We shouldn't just talk about it. We should practice it. And when you say that you are with your brother and you're scheming against your brother secretly, or you think secretly, something is wrong with that. So if you are truly representative of a unified force, then be together, not only in name, but in what you do, in how you think. Look out for each other. And don't plot and scheme against each other, because at the end of the day, you're going to backfire. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. We've lost that caller. We have somebody else. Good evening, caller, you're on the mark. Okay? Callers, we're asking for your patience. 869-469-1616. Let's try again. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Yes, good evening to you, my brother. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Good.
All right. Very often I pay keen attention to your soliloquies, little heart-to-heart talks there, to get an idea of the tone and the agenda for the program.
Mm-hmm.
And normally you're straight up and to the point, huh? But I must confess that tonight you're indulging some parables there. Or maybe because what you said didn't apply to me, I couldn't relate. Old people used to say, call name a whistle. If you call a name, you're going to whistle?
Where's the call? I'm sorry?
If I call a name, you whistle?
I don't know how to whistle.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
All right. The thing is, though, all of us need to do some introspection from time to time. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
You may find that even you yourself may be guilty of some of the same behaviors that you speak of, whether consciously or subconsciously. I have heard people, for instance, being maligned on your show, personal attack by people who think they're pretty cute and smart, and you facilitate them. If you ask them to explain themselves, they can't. But if you can't provide evidence, or if you can't engage, or if you must or can only engage in innuendo, then maybe you should tell them, discontinue it, right, and not lower the standards of the program, okay, because it's just undermining with nasty accusations, I find. I think we need to take your advice and don't take up the cudgel of others, especially when those others have a history of untrustworthiness and using and discarding others to achieve their agenda. I particularly like the observation you made, though, about essentially going to church every Sunday, sometimes even filing our sacred pulpit, and then going back out on Monday with the undermining ways. Okay, really hypocritical, I find. I think we need some honesty and principle in some of our politicians. With regards to...
You said politicians, but I was making a statement about all of us.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
don't exclude yourself.
Including politicians.
Yes, absolutely.
Who
I like
are
that. I
leaders
prefer that.
and set the tone. Remember, they are leaders and set the tone.
We are all leaders.
Huh?
We are all leaders.
Yeah. When you say we are all leaders, what do you mean?
But we are. You lead your family, you lead your community, you lead your business.
But some lead the nation.
Yes, that is true as well, but we
and
all have a part to play.
You'd expect a lot more responsibility on their shoulders, won't you?
Well, of course.
Of course.
But it doesn't mean that you are not a leader in your own right.
Oh, no. Like I said, introspection is good for everybody.
Yes, good.
Okay? No two ways about that. Now, with regards that issue with the police, though.
Yes.
It was too reminiscent of what has happened in the U.S., for instance. And I think the response also was reminiscent of it. Okay? The response by the various stakeholders and players. To me, there was too much of a delay in the police release, and it was too cryptic of a release also. I mean, we know what happens to investigations around here. You yourself conducted one on the Honorable Patrice Liebert, submitted your report. I remember asking you about it. And I guess it just disappeared into some black hole somewhere. Okay? So the public need confidence. Don't just say you're going to investigate, but hopefully we get some result of the investigation to give people confidence and reassure the public that this is not the usual modus operandi of the police. I mean, I'm sure it is not. Okay? You know, and because I know it is not, because this is the first time I've seen something like this happen, then they should have had no problem in addressing directly that video. Because regardless of the circumstances, the optics were terrible. you can't have that, you know, in a black country. And you said something there about, and you often say it, you often repeat it, that we are quick to when incidents like this happen, to highlight them, and less quick when they do good things. That again is reminiscent of the response in the state. Okay? Remember, this is not kindergarten. We should not have to massage and manage fragile egos. We don't improve by changing what's correct. You know, those speak, the good deeds speak for themselves, I would think. We improve by critiquing what is bad. Okay? That is what needs to be corrected. Okay? So I know you like the usual nattering, what do you call it? Nattering neighborhoods of negativity, NNN?
Yes.
NQ? Yeah. But I think that generally we tend towards being too self-congratulatory, and that leads to complacency and mediocrity. Okay? And one other thing, I was kind of surprised by your reaction to the thing with Grant and Powell. Okay? We got to have some kind of standard, Mr. Brantley. Okay? I'm sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that you don't subscribe to this, they were saying if the people want to elect a scamp, let them elect a scamp. You don't have to subscribe to that, right? You believe in some kind of standard for our candidates and elected officials.
I do believe in standards. I do believe in standards.
Integrity in public life and those things.
Yes,
right?
well, just hear me out. I do believe in standards, and that standards should be set and maintained. But I also believe that if issues are squarely put before the populace, and elections are free and fair, and the populace makes their decision, that we should also respect the view of the populace. The voice of the people is the voice of God in any true democracy. And so that is,
and you're saying regardless of what may have transpired, that supersedes everything else?
Well,
I mean,
in a democracy, but you see,
we don't just go and pick people off the street.
No, but caller, let us analyze this for a moment. Somebody said, I use myself as an example because I get more cuss than most.
By the way, shouldn't you put in a disclaimer? Wasn't the forum you were associated with involved in the case?
They may have been involved with it, but I'm not saying anything about the case,
okay.
So I don't need any disclaimer.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
I said I'm using myself as an example.
Okay.
For maybe 2 or 3 years, I was lambasted daily on the radio, on the internet, you name it, about getting 2 salaries.
They're still doing that.
They're still doing it, you say?
Yeah.
Okay. But some people do the same thing over and over expecting a different result. So let's put that to one side.
Right.
But I was lambasted.
Right.
People thought that was the biggest issue, that I was getting 2 salaries. And I pointed out that there was nothing improper, unlawful about it. I pointed out that other people were in the similar position. I pointed out that some who were criticizing me had themselves tried to be in that similar position. I pointed out that people had voted for me, and I went on and on. But it was an issue that was out there. We went to the polls. The people voted more overwhelmingly than they would normally do for me. So Is that not sending a message that insofar as the electorate is concerned? You see, this is my concern. My concern is that some of us intellectualize things to a degree that we run the risk of seeking to impose our perspective on the electorate. We run the risk of saying that the electorate got it wrong. Here in Nevis, I have heard members of the NRP after each loss turn their vengeance on the people of Nevis and say they chup it. They
I'm
chup
sure
it.
you didn't say it like that.
They vote.
Anyway.
I'm telling you, they're stupid. They vote. They say, oh, people take money for their vote. Oh, people this, they bribe them, they whatever. And I think that there's a simple realization in there that goes amiss. And that simple realization is this. People ultimately will vote in their best interests. And what you may see as the issue that is most critical to you may not be shared by the populace. And at the end of the day, that is what a democracy is about. It's about the people exercising their franchise to elect the government of their choice.
Absolutely.
So we have to respect that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But you do admit that sometimes the people can get it wrong.
No, I never admit
was
that.
popularly elected too, huh?
I never admit that.
No, even in a situation like that.
No. When Douglas was in office, I thought Douglas did tremendous good, and I also think that he lost his way. But people continue to vote for him. I said I can't cost the people. I must create for them an alternative that they have confidence in. The answer is never to tell the electorate that the electorate is wrong. The answer is for you to try and craft a message that will appeal to the electorate. Because
Fair enough.
people will vote for their own best interests.
Right. But Mr. Brantley,
Yes.
though, you do realize that sometimes it's very difficult for people to be aware of their best interests until it's too late. And I understand. And
You see, but caller, with respect, I'm not accusing you of arrogance, but to me, this statement has an element of arrogance to it.
No,
When you say when you say that people sometimes it take a long time for them to recognize, because it's saying that you have a higher level of understanding than they do.
No. I accept democracy and the majority rule and all of that. All I'm saying, and I gave you the perfect example, right, of where the people can get it wrong, right? Because you're not telling me that you would have preferred, you didn't mind World War II happening, right? You didn't mind Hitler's ascent to power because it was popular with the people. You see what I mean?
No, well,
I know you're not saying that all them millions of people who died, right, as a result of him being popular elected. Elections have consequences. You yourself sometimes say so, right? And so all I'm saying, I agree with you that once the people have made their choice, everyone should live with it. You believe in democracy, definitely.
Exactly.
Okay? But at the same time, right, it is also a feature of democracy that the opposition or all candidates bring what they think should be the issues. And so I'm based in, for instance, the opposition about your 2 salaries, for instance. Okay? People might ask, okay, when we had this crisis, Mr. Brantley thought that it would be a good thing if he gave up one of his salaries. Well, why did you think so? Because you realize that, a leader is expected to sacrifice with the people he's leading. Okay? And this was one of the ways of doing it. Okay? And so you can't blame the opposition for bringing up something like that because it is, after all, questionable. And the fact that, like I said, you gave up one at that critical time suggests that, you thought about it and said, well, do something that you think, is the right thing to do in the circumstances. Well, similarly here, right? I mean, this has the feature not so much of a campaign, a campaign against the two gentlemen, right? It was a decision emanating from the court, okay? It wasn't a case of somebody throwing mud at them, right? Now, and what was so pregnant about this particular one is the fact that it seemed as if they were delaying the thing until after the election, because they kept saying they did nothing wrong, they did nothing wrong, they did nothing wrong. And it's only afterwards that the court eventually came down with the final decision. Well, what do people do in a particular case like that? If the people saying they didn't do nothing wrong and the court found them guilty, well, there are lots of other considerations. People don't vote on just one issue. So there are lots of other considerations. People weighed them in the balance and decided they're going to vote for them. Now that the case has happened, okay, and they came out with the decision that they did, right? That is a whole new kettle of fish. And I am wondering if the Integrity Commission does not have a pronouncement to make on this. What's the use of an Integrity Commission if it's not functioning? You get what I'm saying? There have to be some kind of standard. You can't just say, well, the people vote for them, and therefore everything is hunky dory.
Okay.
I don't think that's good for democracy.
Right.
Everybody should be accountable.
Okay. All right. We'll leave it there.
All right.
Let's go back to the phones. We've had some persons waiting for a while. Good evening. You're on the mark. Hello? Hello? Hello, caller. Are you there?
Hello, good evening.
Yes, you're on the mark. Go ahead, please.
How are you, sir?
I'm well, man. Good to hear you.
All right. Bradley, some people think that they have to speak for everybody else because only them who know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's either that we're going to believe in what is called democracy or we don't believe in it. And, the opposition will always critique. And nothing is wrong with that. The opposition have a right to critique. But the opposition must also be cognizant of the fact that while they're critiquing, they have to frame their message in such a way to convince the general public. And if they're not able to do that, then that is where the failure is. So to look at something that someone might have done wrong some time ago, and you're just critiquing for critiquing's sake, but you're not capable, because that is what it seems.
Mm-hmm.
You're not capable to frame your message in such a way to convince the general public. Then the problem is you. You see, the problem is really you, because in the democratic country, ultimately, the electorates are the ones who have the most power anyhow. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what nobody says. And so, those are the people who have to convince, not just your few supporters, not just your few diehard supporters who want to come and speak for everybody else. Because it seems as though those are the only people that you're convincing. And that is the problem. You have to convince the general public, not just a few of your supporters who you want to come and talk what you're saying. You're not doing anything there. So you need to go back to the drawing board. And yes, if wrong was done, I agree that people will see it and know it. Well, then you come and craft your message in such a way to convince the electorates. If you're not doing that, you're wasting time. Good night.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I think, caller, you make a very valuable point. And it is something that we must always remember, because sometimes when a party fails to put forward candidates and fails to put forward ideas that capture the attention and the imagination of the electorate, when they lose, they turn around and they cost the electorate. They say the most horrible things about the electorate. Oh, I take money for your vote. Oh, I were bribed. Oh, I this, I that. I don't got no sense. I foolish. Imagine I go and vote for them there. And they start to say things about the electorate doesn't understand. The electorate doesn't get it. And that's why I say there's a certain arrogance to that, because you assume that you're more educated and more intelligent than the electorate. I say all the time here, the voice of the people is the voice of God. In an election, the people decide. You may not like the result, but once the election is free and fair, and the people have had their chance to have their say, that is what the people vote for. That is who they want. And we have to accept it. Oftentimes, the pundits come and they have all kinds of things to say. And they criticize and they cuss and they say how incompetent this person is, how corrupt and wicked and bad this person is. But that is who the electorate wants. And in a free and fair election, and I emphasize that, I'm not talking about any election which is bogus, any election which is rigged. Talking about free and fair election. The people and the people's voice is the only thing that matters. Don't cuss the people because you have not been able to craft a message that is not appealing to them. That's your job, and if you can't do it, that's your failure. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Okay, caller, please call again. Let's try this one. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good evening. Good night again, Mark.
Yes, good evening to you.
Yeah, Mark, yeah, that caller, right? I believe that he got something personal against the country, and he got something personal against the government, and whatever you do it, because let me tell you something. The 2020 election, that same caller said that is bribe. People get bribe. People get this, people get that. And I don't believe election went fair. Here other people want to different ways to talk to saying these things. When the 2015 election, up to now, television, fridge, all kind of bread, all kind of thing give away, black, cement, lumber, all kind of thing give away, Brother Mark. And you never hear that man condemn them things so that them thing is wrong to the people them bribe or nothing. You understand? So Mark, when you see people like he, because I see him real against the unity, against the country, and against everything that the government do. You understand? And I do not believe he have no love for the country, he have no love for the people them, in spite of whatever. All Panway talk shows up to today. 10 voices. The most talk show man I hear ever get more criticized. Because they ignorant to talking about the crime. Now the crime gone down. And a young man was on and saying different thing about the young people them who get shot down and stuff. And he come and make some kind of statement. You understand? Like he works because the crime stop. And saying all kind of negative things. And the people who hold on for him today upon voices. You understand? Nobody calling and say nothing good about him. When he left voices, he went into Freedom Radio Station. He'll embrace you. He'll embrace the Prime Minister. He'll embrace everybody who are part of the unity. You understand? He ain't have no love. He ain't have nothing to say good about the country and about nobody. He just coming on and blowing hot here all the time. He blowing hot here all the time because he never seen nothing wrong before. No. He never seen nothing wrong before. He wasn't wronging out lumber. He wasn't wronging out the fridge. But he rang now that you argue, he say you argue money and all kind of things. He never seen money go out and all these things. Anyway, that is the opinion. But I believe again in next election, people like he going to cause the Labour Party to fall more down in the ditch. Because I don't think he's doing no good for the country. And he ain't doing no good for the people, regardless of what he's saying. The people are getting help. We're under COVID watch all over the whole world. That we, as a little nation, are going to say again that where the CMO, the government, and everybody doing, you up there, news as the premier doing, I do not think nobody handling this COVID as much as this little federation of think it and it again. I'm going to say again, Brother Mark, you have a wonderful and God bless again.
All right, my brother. All right, and thank you for that. You know, you're right, criticisms come fast and furious, they come from different directions. But at the end of the day, let us also respect that is their right to criticize. The question is, are they packaging their criticism in a way that is appealing to anyone other than the Amen corner? You have some people, if you jump up and you say, God is good, they say Amen. And if you say God is bad, they still the same Amen. Because they're the Amen corner. The ability for a political person, a politician or a political pundit is to reach beyond that Amen corner, to talk to people out there in a way that they understand, they appreciate, and they can galvanize and agitate and come around to a particular issue. You give people something that they can think about, they can cogitate upon. If you just make a noise for the sake of making noise, then you get to a point where people like me say, ignore the noise, because we recognize that you have zero impact. And see, that is the reality. There's a lot of them, a lot of Muslims, they love to, every morning they post something on Facebook. And they feel, yes, I'm making an impact. Making what impact? They can't even convince themselves. And so the failure is them. The failure isn't the people. So when they can't convince you, they turn around and cuss you, tell you stupid. That is not the way. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. We have about 20 minutes left. Good evening, you're on the mark. Caller, good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Okay, we've lost both. Okay, we keep trying. Caller, good evening, you're on the mark.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, I so glad I get talking, Brother Mark.
Yes, brother.
Brother Mark, I'm going to be a dictator for a second. Please, I've been warning you. That man, when he comes on with one thing in mind. To take all your time on your show. And he tried to do it on Weber too, but Weber just cut him quick. He is a kind of man. If you ask what a gear in the sea look like, he can go all over the sea, go bring all the different species of fish and tell you this and that, and you ain't asking about them, you only asking about the gear. Well, I know your calling tonight here when I said, you cannot forget, but you can forgive. The Lord Jesus said, forgive and forget. But, no, only the Lord Jesus, sorry. Only the Lord Jesus forgive and forget. You cannot forget. You think the Lord forget what Judas did to him? He ain't forget, but he forgive him. Now, this same caller here, what calling tonight here, Mr. Troffman. Brother Mark is just yesterday self on ZZ program in the morning. They were talking about women taking up position, especially the political thing. And I said, well, everybody should be scrutinized before they go into the political thing, because a lot of what does throw. And if you know a man is a pedophile, a man is a thief, I use myself for them example. If I'm a thief, a pedophile, a child molester, they have to scrutinize me, and they find those things that I did. Then I'm not worthy to go in there to be no leader for the country, no politician. And he was against that. He said that people don't have to be scrutinized to go into politics. But how now we come in talking with this stupidness? Right now, tonight, he's showing people that he's not in favor of people getting into politics in leadership. You see, when you bring in politician tonight, and you know, we're talking about a politician, you know. You were talking with a broad brush. But his heart is like what the Bible says, where your treasure be, is there your heart is. He treasure trying to bring down the government. So his heart is always there to bring in politics and government and leadership. He was one of the biggest 24/7 critique of you and Mr. Amory with the two salary. But what he didn't realize, having two salary for two different jobs is a different thing to having two salary for the same one job. That is what he don't understand, and he believes he's so bright. But he hate the government, and hate you, and hate the Nevis Island administration, hate the Prime Minister and the whole country. That his heart is full up of what you call critique, and he don't know what he's saying. He's making himself look like a fool. He operates like a snake. A snake got two tongues in his head. One in the left and one in the right. So tomorrow, Thursday, you talk with the right side. And Friday, you talk with the left. Contradict yourself. That is what he does all the time. He's messing up the program. And he has nothing good for the country to say. Anywhere he go, he is negative, negative, negative. No, your opening remarks were so clear that people, everybody who listen can understand. You ain't pointing the finger at nobody. You talk with a broad brush, and he don't want to say that you pointing on finger and all kind of foolishness. Eh? I don't understand he.
All right,
You must stop it, man. Everybody have a right to critique.
Yes.
But when you go critique, you must be right. They're coming down, 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 man. They're coming down. The American FBI is coming down. He tell you all you bad since you born, but to New York, no, you ain't gone. So by now, somebody cock don't eat off your corn. Man, they're coming down, 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 man, they're coming down. The American FBI is coming down. He tell you all you 10 men in one, but to New York, no, you ain't gone. So by now, you cannot go back to Washington. You tell the world that you're going to win the election. But when the people come off the plane, they tell you you're done. He tell you all that he was in charge, but Team Unity sabotage. And now he is the most lying man at large. Man, they're coming down, 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 man, they're coming down. The UK Scotland Yard detected them coming down. He had the money in his bosom when they find him.
Hello?
He hide him, sorry,
Yes.
man. He hide the money in his bosom. But when they hold him, they take it away. Mark, a boss. A boss.
I love it. You say your boss?
But anyway, I'm going back to practice.
Go back to practice, man. Because we want you to come back full throttle.
This last war, so since you come in and talk.
Uh-huh.
Since you come in and take up the long time, I just make up this. So I'm going to go back to practice tomorrow.
Well, you're the best. You're the best. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, man, I'm going back to practice tomorrow.
All right. God bless. Okay. Why there's no show like this show. I swear our people are wonderful people. Thank you for that. They said they're coming down. FBI Scotland Yard, everybody coming down. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Mark, the man, there's something else. He bamboos you again today. Freedom
why you say
and
about me?
voices.
Why you say about me?
Eh?
What did you say about me?
You know, government and you know, do this and that kind of thing go film. You talk about the films them too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and you come there talk to you so nice. You know, you able that, you got some man too long. I'll see you.
All right, darling. Let's stick with the phones. You have 10 minutes left. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Hello, good night.
Good night, you're on the air.
Good night to you, Premier Mark Brantley. I greet you well from the beautiful island of Jamaica.
Yes, brother. How are you doing? How are you doing? And how's Jamaica?
Jamaica is doing fine. We're now under a new curfew order because we have had over more than 1,000 cases in just less than 6 days.
Oh, wow. So things are not getting better?
Things are not getting better. The new variant apparently is here, the one from the UK, and it seems as if it is a super spreader.
Goodness gracious.
We are now buckling down a bit under the pressure of the realities of COVID. And I say this to say that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis are privileged to be listed as one of the only 2 countries in this region that absolutely have no death from COVID and COVID is absolutely COVID-free. Yeah? And that is an achievement that I believe the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, by extension the Team Unity government of PCM, PAM, and PLC should absolutely be proud of.
But I'm very grateful to hear that from you. I think that we sometimes need to be reminded that, you know, we have done an effective job thus far. I say thus far because you know how this thing can still get out of hand, yeah?
Yes. Well, my advice would be to keep the protocols you have in place now. We've been, in my very own party here in Jamaica, which is in opposition, we have been suggesting the very same to the government, which is to have people do the 14-day quarantine before they come home in hotels, not at home, yeah? unless they would have had the facility at home to do so. And they are not feeding. They were not paying for the COVID test. When they come home, they were not paying for it. So I think it put a strain on the purse of the budget.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're seeing, we're now cracking under that pressure. Yeah? Now, I also want to say I've listened to your opening remarks. Normally, I don't delve into politics. When I call you or I call Brother Passive, I normally try to focus on developmental issues.
Sure,
yeah?
sure.
But tonight, it would be remiss of me not to do so, because I want to remind the people of St. Kitts and of Nevis of how important it is for the construct, as it were, unity, for where you're coming from, because my grandmother always say, if you don't remember where you're coming from, you ain't going to know where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
Eh?
Mm-hmm.
And so I want the people of Nevis, right, in particular you are going to face an election soon, I want the people of Nevis to remember those days of NRP, yes, because we in the Caribbean who love politics, so we're political junkies, yes? We remember those days, yes, as I'm a student of history.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the days of the Labour Party administration of Douglas in St. Kitts, yes, and what occurred. We are now seeing a different momentum. We are now seeing a different trajectory. Things are a little bit hard because of the present time, yes? But I say to my friends in St. Kitts and I say to my friends in Nevis, remain focused, yes? Remain steadfast, because the people are depending on you. They're never dependent on you before. They're now depending on leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Yes? They're now depending on leadership which delivers, and leadership which is credible, and leadership which actually matters. If I should even borrow a word from my goodly Prime Minister, the Honorable Timothy Harris,
mm-hmm.
who I greet well as well. The truth be told, to move away a little bit from the politics, because I'm not comfortable discussing political issues. The issue, I think, that with aviation, which is a favorite of mine outside of agriculture, it seems like I have a love for the A word. Yes? Aviation is an opportunity, I believe, that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis can look at, especially in the area of MRO and pilot training.
Mm-hmm.
Yes? When we look, this pandemic, aviation will never return to a new normal until about another 2 to 3 years. Most aviation experts say, some say 4. Yeah? Within this time frame, if we're able to train young pilots, yeah? Young men leaving high school, young girls leaving high school at sixth form level, they would have had their civics, they would have had, the basic training in sciences, and we are able to train them in aviation, MRO, maintenance, repair, and overall, which most of those, the maintenance, repair, overall personnel, they're getting older. Yes? So similarly with the pilots, it would be an opportunity for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, and in particular the administration, the federal government, to look at how can they now use Nevis or St. Kitts as a place to now train pilots, because Miami, Florida will never ever return in a short time. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
And the age for pilots are getting older. And I think you understand this.
Sure.
Because of your role as the Minister of Aviation. Yeah? And so it is an opportunity to now use a COVID-free environment, maintaining those protocols, having the persons who come down to train to do the quarantine. And it would be a good thing for that region, in particularly what is happening with Liat and the issues with pilots and other things. I believe that we need to now look at training our young people in aviation, MRO, and the pilots. I want to hear your opinion on that as a Minister of Aviation.
Well, thank you very much. I think that you have, at the end of the show here, raised a very important point. We have to diversify. That's what it comes down to. And you're correct that travel may not return to its optimal state for some time yet. And so we have infrastructure that's available at RLB, at Van Samry, and the question is, what do you do with that infrastructure? And you're right that especially at Van Samry, which we know has suffered because of the size and the change in travel tastes, etc. We have fought hard to bring flights here. The flights leave empty. People go over to St. Kitts because they prefer the larger aircraft, etc. It is time, I agree with you, that we look at options. And your suggestion is timely. It's important, because we also have to look now. It's like where I'm encouraging people to take the advantage of scholarships to go to school now. And they'll be out in 3 to 4 years when we hope that some normalization would have returned. Yeah. So in a way, you're making an investment in the future. So if people were to be trained now, the hope would be that when we get back to some sense of normalcy, they will have jobs available to them. As you know, the airline industry and the need for pilots and people who are into maintenance and that kind of thing always was significant. In fact, I know of some Jamaican pilots who, after Air Jamaica folded, went as far as Dubai and places like that to fly. Yeah, I have friends who fly for Liat who are now flying in India and places like that. So it's a trade where you can fly almost anywhere. And once you're trained on a particular aircraft, wherever that aircraft is, you can potentially work there. So what you say makes a lot of sense, and it allows us, as I like to say, to have another string to our bow, to give us another avenue to pursue. And so it is something that I think is worth taking up, definitely.
And I thank you for listening, Premier.
Yes,
and I think this is the right approach, because even in Jamaica, there was a suggestion by our government to issue scholarships for young people to train as pilots and MROs. What we're having now is a challenge that we cannot gather because of how bad the COVID is. If we were able to now say, let's sign an agreement with NIA or sign an agreement with the federal government of St. Kitts and Nevis and have our people come over to train, yes, in a COVID-free environment. Huh? Similarly with Antigua, similarly with Dominica or St. Vincent and the Grenadines, because I think they are going to be starting up a new airline that is called One Caribbean, if it has not started already. Mm-hmm. And so the need for the training in this region is going to be critically important, and you have emphasized that. And so I leave these thoughts with you, my Honorable Premier, that continue the work. You continue to do the work you're doing for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis at the federal level, and the work you're doing as the Premier of Nevis. And I am not afraid to say I stand with my CCM family, and I support you when that time comes.
Thank you, my brother, and we appreciate your call. We appreciate your very thoughtful intervention. Thank you, and stay safe.
You too, my brother.
All right, good. We have 2 minutes left. Anybody's holding? No? People have abandoned me. So, ladies and gentlemen, we only have 2 minutes left. We probably could have squeezed in one last call, but we recognize that, of course, we're coming to the end of the show. Tonight, we have, I think, had a good show. We have had some very pithy and very important observations made. We have heard views of a different kind and views which are disparate, and that is okay. I want our public to appreciate that we need not agree with everyone, but that everyone has a right to be heard. And that's what this show tries to do. So while I hear many call in and castigate my friend who calls in all the time, that, in my view, isn't necessary. Call in and say what your point of view is. And if you disagree, that is your right. He clearly doesn't agree with anything that this government is doing, and that is also his right. Those views were tested on the 5th of June last year, and the people did not agree with him. And in a democracy, ultimately, that is what matters. And so, for those who continue to have a different view, let us not take up too much of our time fretting over that. Because as I like to say in a democracy, their view is as valuable as yours. They have every right to their view, just as you have every right to yours. And once we get to a point where we can respect each other and respect the fact that each other is entitled to his or her view, I think we'll be much better off. The band has struck up. It means we have to go. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank all of you who would have participated. Good evening to my dear friend Ursula there in Villarica. I hope you're still listening. I trust and hope that you and the family are staying safe. Good evening to my beautiful aunt, Ornette, in New York. I hope you're staying safe. Good evening to my cousins in St. Croix, Joey and the whole clan. I hope they're staying safe. Good evening to my sis Helen and Sarai in New York. I hope that you're fine. Good evening to my friend Doc and all of our family and friends in the United States and elsewhere. I pray that you stay safe. That's our show. Our show is rebroadcast tomorrow at 1 p.m. right here on the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse, VON Radio. That's it. Good night and God bless you.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of